Evening, everyone, and welcome to Fort Talk Thursdays. My name is Erica Hartley, and I'm the Field Director and Curatorial Fellow for the Fort St. Joseph Project. Tonight's presentation will be the final in our virtual winter lecture series with the theme Archaeology and Outreach at French Forts. So each of the presenters have worked at the site or used information about the site in their research or outreach projects. The format for tonight's talk is as follows. The presenters, Gabrielle and Makenna, will discuss their work for about 15 to 20 minutes, followed by a Q&A. To eliminate distractions, we are going to ask you that you turn off your video sharing. And if you have a question or comment, please type it in the chat to me or into the public comment section, and I'll read it during the Q&A. That way we have some type of format and order. They will all be recorded so you can view it later. Okay, so tonight our presenters are Gabrielle Nelson and Makenna Schrader, who are going to present 3D archaeology walkthrough of Fort St. Joseph. Gabrielle and Makenna will discuss their experience developing a virtual 3D model of the archaeological site of Fort St. Joseph. The pair, alongside their teammates Tanae Dawson and Anfal Faisal, created this 3D walkthrough for their senior design project in the Department of Computer Science at Western Michigan University. The 3D walkthrough uses the gaming development software Blender and Unity to provide a virtual experience of the site for the public, highlighting select excavations that have taken place over the past 20 years. The virtual walkthrough is an effective platform for showcasing some of the artifacts and features that have been uncovered at the fort, as well as the information gleaned from the project's research. Welcome, Gabrielle and Makenna, and thank you so much for participating in this series. Please feel free to begin.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen for the presentation, and then we're going to go through and explain some of the things that we found.
Hi, everyone, and thank you again for coming. We're so excited to share our project with you. It was really fun to work on, and it was so much fun to learn all the different things about archaeology along the way. So as Erica mentioned, we'll be talking about our 3D walkthrough, and we'll be going through some of the steps we took to develop it, the need for the project, and some of the challenges we faced as well. So as most of you probably know, archaeology in the public eye is kind of hard to showcase. And so what we wanted to do here was give a way for people to see the site at any time during the year, not just during open houses, as well as be able to see it from anywhere in the world and not just on site in Niles. Having archaeology accessible to the public is incredibly important because the findings that are discovered during these digs are the community history, and being able to show that to the community and teach people all around the world about it is incredibly important. And currently, with Fort St. Joseph, the biggest ways that people can learn the information is by going to summer open houses, going to the museum, viewing images, things like that. And so with our 3D interactive walkthrough, we'll be able to display the site for, like I said, anybody to view. Here's a couple of examples of things that we use to develop the project. And without really any archaeological knowledge, someone looking at these wouldn't know what they mean or wouldn't really be able to get a good feel for what the site looks like and what was discovered. So what we did to design this project and create it was we used Blender, which is a 3D modeling software, Unity, which is a gaming engine used to create all of the front-end and back-end aspects of a video game. We used both of these combined to create a 3D person video game style walkthrough, and this will be hosted by the Niles Historical Center on their website. So the process of the development was as follows. So we met with our client, which was Erica, and we discussed everything that they wanted for the project. We discussed what they wanted in the walkthrough, what type of walkthrough they wanted, whether or not they wanted it to be just 3D, if they wanted to be full VR, if they wanted it hosted on a website, or if they wanted to be freestanding. So we took the time to gather all that information, and then from there we did some research to find out what we needed to do, what softwares we needed, what we needed to learn, and then we constructed written outlines of what to do. So we were able to say, yes, we're going to use Blender, we're going to use Unity, this is who's going to work on Blender, this is who's going to use Unity. And then we started to build the 3D excavation models in the Blender software. I'll show you some examples of that a little bit later, but then we took those 3D excavations and we imported them into the terrain, which the terrain was built by Makenna and Anfal, and they essentially created an entire 3D video game style terrain, which we then put the excavations into. And then after everything was imported, we were able to finalize the placement and sizing of excavations to make sure everything was accurate into real life. And then we were able to fine tune small details. So if anything looked a little bit off while we were, testing it, we could go back and fix it. And then as it says test, 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 we did a lot of testing. We did a lot of trial runs. We did a lot of moving things around, having lots of eyes on it and being able to make sure that we did everything correctly before we turned it in. So like I said, Blender is one of the softwares we used. This software is used to make 3D models. It can do a lot more than 3D models, but we only used it for 3D models in this project. So we used individual pieces to design these excavations. So in this picture, this is in a basic excavation shape that we started with. So we always started with just like a pure gray clay model. And then through the use of different textures and images and lots of modeling, we were able to create a full excavation that looked much closer to real life. So here, these two pictures are examples of two things that we fully created within the Blender software. So the top picture is a fully rendered excavation. So you can see that's got coloring that matches where there would have been some burn marks in the soil. The rocks are all colored based on the pictures that we saw, the pictures that were taken at the actual site. And then this sign here is an example of something that we use that's just a fun little display model inside of the game. So with the Blender software, we use sculpting and rock generating techniques, which created larger and more realistic rocks. And then we used the photos of the excavations, which were taken at all different angles to be able to accurately recreate the sizes and textures of the excavations.
Perfect. And then I'm going to talk about more of what went on the Unity side of our project. To start off, we had to build a character to walk around in our walkthrough, and in game development, that's called a sprite. We wanted to have a female character to go through our landscape, and we wanted it to have animated movements that mimic a real person, like having joints and being able to walk and jump and move around. The images across the bottom show kind of our design process. On the bottom left is our 2D sprite before we created the 3D one that went into our final project. I also included the image that we included on the original sprite, but it did not make it into the final 3D version. It was too hard to render, and the Unity didn't have the capabilities at this time to include that. And then on the right is what our final sprite looks like. You can see it's got similar characteristics to the two-dimensional version, but it moves around more freely and isn't just a standing image going back and forth. Then some of the functionality pieces in Unity would be the coding. A script is a snippet of code that controls the different functions within the application. And on the right, you can see an example of a script. It's coded in C#, and we had to build these to do the different movements and animations and pop-ups, all the different features that go into our display. So this specific script is used to control the image display for the pop-ups, which I'll show an example of in a following slide. But this controls just the next button. So when you click the button, it swaps over the image from the current image to the next one in a set. to just go through all of them for the viewer. And also our visuals in Unity. So to build our terrain, we had to build it from the ground up, out of nothing. We wanted to include the water, the ground, and also things like the trenches and trees. So in Unity, you can use textures, and you can also use elements from the Unity asset store. Textures are more for two-dimensional and design features like that, like the water and the trenches and the grass are all textures. You put them in and you can draw them over the terrain. But then for things like the trees, rather than build them from nothing, you can get them in the Unity asset store and drop them where you want them. If you look at the image included of our completed terrain, you can see different examples of our pieces. Along the edge of the water are all of our excavations that were created in Blender and then dropped into the terrain. You can also see a little bit the signs that were also created in Blender and dropped into the terrain. And then along the right side of that are the 3 trenches and also some trees and bushes that were dropped in as well. So these are an example of the pop-ups I was talking about. We wanted to include additional information about the excavations so that when you're looking at it, you can kind of get an idea of what you're looking at and what was actually found in that location. So the 2 types of pop-ups that we have are text pop-ups and also image pop-ups. The text was given to us by Erica, and it describes everything that was found in each excavation. And then the images also provided to us show different artifacts that were found within each feature. They also give a name of what was found and which specific feature they were found in. And then finally, just a couple challenges that we faced while working on this project. No member of our team had any prior knowledge of archaeology, so when it came to reading the diagrams and understanding archaeological standards like colors and things like that, we had to do a lot of research and figure out how to go about this in a professional way. By the end of the project, we had much better base knowledge of the things we needed to know. And another challenge is not every piece of each feature was uncovered in the same year. So our final project with each excavation, they were stitched together from multiple different images, and we needed to understand how they were photographed and how they were oriented in order to make sure that the features were accurate. And now we want to show a video of our walkthrough in action. As the video plays, I will describe some things that are going on and what you may be looking at. So this is actually in the Unity gaming engine. This is what happens when you open it up. We wanted to start off with some instructions on how to go about it, just so that people aren't confused on how to use the walkthrough. And then you're able to click the close button and actually explore the walkthrough for yourself. Here's what you see when you first open the walkthrough. There's a sign that says welcome, and it gives a brief history. This is one of those pop-ups. So when you walk into the vicinity of these different objects, like the signs and the trenches and the excavations, that's when those pop-ups will appear. And then when you walk away, they disappear again. So this is just the description for house 1, and then we'll go and show some of our actual 3D excavations. Here's one of those image pop-ups with the next button, so you can go through the different images of artifacts that were found within feature 2. And then the pop-ups also scroll so you get more information about what you're looking at. And then the character is able to jump back out of the excavations, not very gracefully, but she makes it, and then can go explore some more. As you walk around, it'll show you again what you're looking at. So here's house 2, here's some of this description of that. And then each of these are different excavations and different features. The signs are helpful to just give some direction as you're walking around so you know what you're looking at and not just walking blindly into a bunch of different holes in the ground. Then, as you see here, you can walk around the edge of the terrain. The character is not able to fall off into the water. There's a collider there that stops her from walking off the edge. And then going this direction, we're heading towards where the trenches are. They also have pop-ups within them showing different images, things that were found there. And then this is just showing one of the other trenches and also just the edge of the terrain. And then I think it's close to the end of the video. There's just, oh yeah, just showing walking back to the beginning of the walkthrough, just to show that you can make it around to all of it. Here you're back at the start where you walk in. Perfect. So that is our walkthrough. If there's any questions, we'd love to answer them now. We can also pull up the walkthrough if we'd like to do it firsthand if there's any questions about specific things within it, rather than just the pre-recorded video.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Gabrielle and Makenna. That was really good. I didn't get to see the video in your original presentation, so that was nice to have. So one of the questions that's coming up is, you said you didn't have any knowledge of archaeology. What was it like when we first started meeting and you had all of the gaming knowledge and I had none of that in our meeting of the minds? So how was that?
So it was fun and it was interesting to see how we had to teach each other, right? The students don't normally get to teach the teachers, but we did get to in that aspect. So that was really fun. It was nice being able to learn from, seeing things in person, and, we got to learn a lot about archaeology by building the thing. So that was fun. And yeah, it was definitely interesting at the very beginning. The first few months were, it seems like both of us were learning a lot.
Yeah, so for our viewers, I think that you guys started to become and were talked to by another person in our department at Western, maybe in March, and then that person had moved on, and so you and I had met, or I'd met your team in maybe September or late August, and we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we put this together? And I have no idea about gaming software, and they didn't know anything about archaeology, and that took a little while. So it's not complete yet, but the nice thing about this, and this is answering one of the questions, is that we can add to it, correct? So anybody can continue working on that. So how does that work?
So the way we set it up was all of our code and all of the aspects of the entire walkthrough, whether it be our physical models, our textures, any pictures we used, anything that we wrote in code, it was given to you guys in a file, and that can be directly imported back into Unity, which is a free gaming software. So it's not anything anyone would ever have to pay for. And they can open up those files and they can add to it. They can edit it. They can do whatever. And Blender is also free. So if later on you want to add more excavations, it would be simple enough to make another one and import that into the Unity and place it where it needs to go.
Yeah, so one of the questions is how many artifacts are in the rendering and how many do you aim to include? So we would like to include all of the excavations and a good variety of artifacts that represent our whole collection. We ran out of a little bit of time near the end because as we were trying to figure out how to build these, you guys were constantly learning new coding tricks and how to make the rocks into a fireplace structure and how to kind of add the different photos together. So we didn't have enough time to include everything, but we were able to get a lot of our larger features in there. And then it's nice that we can add that. So then the next question asks if we could maybe recreate a reconstruction of the fort as it might have looked. Certainly that would be one thing that we could do in the future as we gather more information. Right now, we don't have as much information that's needed to do that. But we did include all of we know there's 6 structures likely at the site, and we have those boundaries. And so Gabrielle and Makenna, Anfal, and Tanai, they were able to go through and create the fireplaces for each. You guys did a couple of our foundation walls too, I believe, and some of the posts as well. So that was really nice. So that way we can at least see the outlines. We didn't quite get to our trench excavations yet, but we were able to at least establish where the trenches were. And you guys worked tirelessly trying to make sure that they were accurate and in the right places. I remember that last week you're like, oh no, they shifted a meter. We've got to fix this.
Yeah. The last week was rough when the software kept changing and we had to go and fix it, but we got it back at the end.
And this is nice because it can just host on a website, correct?
Yep.
So anyone can use this?
Yep.
Have you seen any other applications or something similar using Blender and Unity to do some type of historical or archaeological interpretation? You guys came across that?
I actually did not see anything when I was doing any research.
Yeah, I haven't in that aspect. Like there's lots of different things made with Unity, but I don't remember seeing anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the frontier of that then. What got you interested in doing this project? How did the collaboration initially start?
Kayleen, actually, who was our original client, had reached out to our senior design professor with the idea for the project, and from there he got a little more information about what we would need to do, and then he kind of just advertised it to the class and said, whoever wants to do this. And we thought, that sounds like a really unique project. That sounds like something that would be a lot of fun to work on. Let's do that.
Cool. Do you see any future applications or something that you could use the knowledge you've learned while working on this project in your future careers?
I think so. I think just the knowledge of like using the gaming software and the coding and building all these things, like the collaboration and putting all these things together, but also like the conversational skills, like you guys were talking about having to teach each other. I think that was really helpful, and learning like how to professionally communicate about things and being able to get your point across and understand what the other person is needing, and to be able to output that was really beneficial, at least for me personally.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the gaming part of it was really fun to learn, and I think going forward that'll be something I might be interested in doing with my career later on. But working in a team of 4 and also communicating with you as a client was some of the most useful skills I think that we learned during this project.
Okay. Right. I don't see any other comments or questions besides Dr. Sty says that it's very cool. Well done. So nice job, ladies. And I know that several other people have also thought the project is really cool. So we are working on currently, for anyone that's attending, up to upload that to the Niles History Center website. So we're working on getting that hopefully in the next few weeks, so it'll be accessible for everybody. And then as we continue on and we find people with the capabilities to continue to work on the project, we will make updates as needed, or maybe we can get Gabrielle and Makenna to do some additional side work on it for us. So, all right, thank you. So this was the final lecture series for the Fort Talk Thursday in our winter lecture series. So we will unfortunately be ending it. We'll pick back up in the summer though for our summer lecture series. And then we will of course be out in the field this summer with the field school. So I hope that everyone will be able to stop out at least for either virtually in the summer lecture series or in during the open house that we'll host at the site of Fort St. Joseph in that first weekend of August. And then just for a teaser on, there is an upcoming event that we're going to do with the Niles District Library and the Niles History Center. So we are going to do a book signing at the Niles District Library on May 4th. So come out in your Star Wars gear and meet us at the library. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll be doing book signing for the People of the Post new booklet that our project's putting out. So that'll be accessible soon. And then we're also going to do it for Fort St. Joseph Revealed. So you're welcome to bring any copies that you have. As always, you can reach out for any questions. And thank you guys so much for attending our virtual lecture series. And thank you, Gabrielle and Makenna, for coming tonight and presenting this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.